right, so today's episode is all about a super simple one-pot meal that's going to be packed with flavor, packed with protein, packed with everything you would need for dinner. So stick around, it's about to get delicious in here. All right, so today on Delicious and Nutritious, we are making spicy cod and vegetables. It's a one-pot meal tonight. Now, I took this recipe, again, from Korean cuisine. I know you guys at home might be saying, Jared, every episode, what's with all the Korean food? I like Korean food. What do you want to persecute me? I like it. It's food, just food to me. We're 21st century. You can go on YouTube, you can get recipes from all over the globe. Food is just food, and I like to try different things, and this is the type of food that I like. So if you have any problems, email tscanlon@northtv.net. He'll answer all your questions. So today, as I mentioned, the recipe comes from Korean cuisine. I base this off of dak galbi, which is like a stir-fried vegetable and chicken dish. But I think that you can just substitute out that protein with a lot of different things. And so today we're going to use a big fillet of cod as our protein source. Low calorie, high protein. You could use chicken, as I said. You could use cod like we're doing today. You could use shrimp. If you want to use lean ground beef, lean ground pork, whatever you want to use as your protein source, go right ahead. This thing works with a ton of different stuff. Tilapia I've used as well. Salmon I've done with this as well. There was a stretch maybe a couple months ago, that I made this every single day because it's easy. It uses one pot. You don't really have to clean up a lot. Packs a ton of flavor. And especially in the winter months, it's a nice warm, hot stew. Really just warms you up from the inside out. And like I said, it has everything you need. It's got protein from the cod. And now we'll shift over to where our carbs are coming from, where we've got today a ton of vegetables. I mentioned spicy cod and vegetables. We've also got one of my favorites. This is a Oriental yam, Japanese yam, Korean yam, or sweet potato. They all look pretty much the same. So then rather than a regular Western sweet potato, which has the brown skin and the orange flesh, this actually has red skin and has white clear flesh. It's different than Western sweet potato in the sense that it cooks similarly to a red skin potato, where you can boil it and it still keeps some firmness and some snap even once it kind of softens up, where a sweet potato or a russet, when you boil those down, they can get a little mushy, which is good for mashed potatoes. But these I find are really good for soups and stews because they still have a little crunch, a little bit of body left after you cook them down for a while. So we've got half of one of these because I used the other half last night when I had this for dinner. We've got cabbage, king cabbage. They're like little mini Napa cabbages. I get these from the Asian market. I love how they wrap vegetables and produce. They just put them in these bags and they tie them off at the top. It's really cool. I don't know why that's cool, but I enjoy it. But yeah, these are just little mini Napa cabbages. I like them because one of these is perfect for one serving of this, maybe 1.5 if you want a little extra cabbage. Add as much greens as you want to this. Add all the vegetables you want to this. I don't count calories from vegetables, though they do have calories. So if you're trying to lose weight and you're loading up with calories or loading up with vegetables, you're adding calories. Sure, if you're not losing weight, that could be somewhere where you could start to cut from. But I mean, one of these whole cabbages, this can't be more than 100 calories or something like that. A whole zucchini is probably 50 calories. You're dealing with a lot of water weight there. It's not a lot of calories that you're gonna end up adding, and we're gonna only add a little bit of this. So we've got king cabbage. You can use Napa cabbage. You can use the green heads of cabbage. Just use cabbage in some form. Bok choy, same thing. Got it from the Asian market. Came in this bag. This is baby bok choy. Love these things. Adds a ton of flavor, texture, and again, you just get a different type of leafy green. And I like to use green vegetables in this because the sauce is going to be red, and we'll get to that in a little bit. I've also got a bag of broccoli slaw. I've been big into this lately. This is just kind of julienne sliced, matchstick sliced, broccoli, cabbage, carrots. Just want to use this up. Again, if you've got extra produce in your produce keeper in the fridge, this is the perfect recipe to just throw it in there. Wilt it down, cook it down a little bit. It'll taste great. We've got some sliced carrot as well, just for some extra color, extra flavor. Vitamin K as well. And then we've got mystery leaf, mystery herb. I got this from the Asian market. It didn't say what it was on there. It looked cool. It smells really nice. I think, don't quote me on this, I think this is perilla leaf. I'm not sure. I bought it because I thought it's perilla leaf. Again, I could totally be wrong, but it smells great. It's kind of like a mix between a minty smell, a basil-y smell. This stuff is awesome though, and it adds a really nice aroma and a little bit of a sweetness to the final dish. We've got zucchini. I love zucchini. It's simple. You know, not a lot of explaining there for zucchini. We got one of those. We're going to use half. And then we've got jalapeno peppers. I would have rather have used a long pepper, but Stop and Shop around the corner from the North TV office didn't have any long peppers. They just had jalapeno peppers. But use any spicy pepper that you like. If you don't want the spice, use a green bell pepper. It makes no difference to me. So that's our key components for the vegetables and one of our carb sources, the sweet potato. We're going to split our carbs today between, for the first time, we've mentioned these a few times on the show, we have got rice cakes in the house. And they're sitting in some water right now because when you get the prepackaged ones, they always say to kind of just leave them in a bowl of water for a little bit to just kind of soften up a little bit before you cook with them. These things are great. This is literally ground rice and steam, more or less. It's ground rice flour. They steam it, pound it out till it gets kind of sticky, steam it again, pound it again, roll it out into tubes, and then slice it into these things. I've mentioned duckbucky before, spicy rice cakes. These are the rice cakes that I've been talking about. Not Quaker, not the Quaker rice cakes. I know some of you probably thought like, ooh, spicy Quaker rice cakes, that's weird. No. These are rice cakes. And once you try this, these are going to be the only rice cakes that you're going to want to eat for the rest of your life. Believe me, there's been a ton of people I've given these to recently. They're all converted. Again, specialty item, you're going to have to go to an Asian market to get those. I've seen a couple different videos. One video says they're really easy to make. Another video says they're super hard to make and it's not worth it at all. So just buy them. They're available at an Asian market. You know the Asian markets. Here's me dropping in the clip of all the times I've referenced all the Asian markets I like to go to. Asiana Market, East Providence, Good Fortune Market down on Pontiac Ave, H Mart up in Burlington, Asian Supermarket. I believe it's on, I don't want to say it's Hill Street in Worcester, but I think it begins with an H. I can't think of it, but it's right next to Harbor Freight Tools. Tim, what is it? Mill Street. All right, there it is. For the sauce today, we've got gochugaru. We used this last week in mapo tofu. Gochujang, we used this in mapo tofu. Minced ginger, minced garlic. Last week I minced it myself. Today I don't feel like doing that, so and I need minced garlic for my house, so it's just easier to pick some up. So just minced garlic, minced ginger right there. We've got the soy sauce, and then we've got some soybean paste. You could use like Korean soybean paste, just to keep with things. This is Japanese because the Asian market in Worcester didn't have doenjang, which is Korean fermented soybean paste, but whatever, I think it's like the same thing. I don't know that for sure, but I'm assuming they taste similar. And then we've just got a little bit of Himalayan pink salt. So, step number one, as usual, we'll go over to CutCam, and we're gonna start breaking down our vegetables and our potatoes. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna open up this bag of cabbage. And I'm not gonna go fast. I'm gonna talk you guys through cutting this cabbage. Not that it's super complex, but just to give you guys kind of instruction. So what you're gonna do is kind of lay it on its side like so. I like to cut it once down the middle like this. Then I cut like the stem end off. We'll just move that off to the side. And then open it up like this, and there's like a rib piece in the middle right there that's really fibrous and not that pleasant to eat. So I just go in there on like an angle and kind of V-cut that out and then go in and just pull that out. I do the same thing on this one, like little V-cut, 45-degree angle, just chop that right out. You're not gonna wanna eat that. And then I cut these halves into quarters and then into bite-sized pieces like so. And all right, so our cabbage is broken down. Let's move those cores off to the side. And then when I'm doing this, what I like to do as soon as I'm done chopping those, I bring it over to my cooking vessel, get that all in there, and this forms our base layer. Just get that down, spread it out nicely. That looks good right there. Then, next up, bok choy. And we're gonna grab, I don't know, we're not gonna grab too many. We'll grab like 5 right there. And with the bok choy, all these leaves are connected to the stem end, this kind of fibrous base again. I just cut like maybe 1/4 of an inch, take the whole thing, the whole base out, and then you'll be left with individual leaves. And you can just do this quickly. Sometimes there'll be like some dirt left over from when these things were picked. So you can go through these and just kind of soak them really quickly in some water to knock that off. These ones I've used a couple times already. I know that they're good. There's not a lot of dirt left in there. So then that goes in the pan right on there. So we're just building up a base layer of vegetables right now. Half of a zucchini. Cut off the bulbous end like this. Reserve the other half. I like to cut these in half like this. And I do like thin strips of these. And it's so easy to cut zucchini. It's like not the firmest flesh in the world. So I cut them like that to get these like matchstick, like that. They're not like super matchstick, but just kind of do that right there. And again, all of these things are going to cook down and they're going to give off most of the moisture that they're holding. And that's going to help kind of build out the stock that are rice cakes and that are potatoes and that our cod is going to end up simmering in. So just kind of spread these out in here. And again, I went with a lot of green vegetables to kind of counteract how red the final product's going to be. We're going to go to our sweet potato. This is where we're going to bust out the scale. See how heavy this entire sweet potato is. Perfect, 250 grams. We're going to use about half of that. We're going to use somewhere in the 130 gram ballpark. Let's see how much half of this weighs. 137, that's absolutely perfect. I like to just keep the skin on. I'm a big fan of potato skin, whether it's baked, mashed, whatever. I like it. There's vitamins there. I think high in vitamin B12, which is found in dirt and soil. Very important micronutrient to have in your diet. With these, just chop them up however you'd like into smaller pieces, bite-sized pieces, and pretty uniform pieces, just so they cook down at about the same rate. So I'm going to cut them into these little half moons. And then this one I'm going to cut like this. And then I'm just going to stack like 3 of these and just kind of cut them into thirds like that, little slices of pizza. And this stuff is great. It's sweet like sweet potato, but it's going to end up being a little firmer. It's maybe not as sweet as Western sweet potato. It's sweeter than like a russet or a Yukon Gold or a traditional red potato. Not as sweet as a Western potato, but still has some sweetness to it, which again is going to balance out the heat and the spice that we're going to be adding to this. So you take your potatoes, throw them in the trash. Just kidding. No, put them in the, as you can tell, just throw them in here. And again, just move them around. Kind of again, we're building out a nest that eventually our cod and the sauce is going to sit on. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to pour in some of this broccoli slaw. This is optional. You don't have to add this at all. But I've been liking this stuff lately. I've been mixing it in with my chicken and rice. And as you can probably see, it's turning a little brown, so I want to use it up before it goes totally off on me. Next thing we're going to add some carrots. And again, just eyeball it, a handful's worth. If you want more, add more. Pull out it's a big piece of broccoli left in that broccoli slaw. Then we're going to go in with mystery herb. I think this is perilla. I looked it up. It looks kind of similar, but it's some sort of like Asian basil or whatever. It's got like like a purple side and a green side. Again, it smells really good. It's really a unique smell. And what I like to do is I just like to pluck it off the stems. And you want, I don't know, like a handful. Tim, can you smell that from here? Can you smell that? It's pretty interesting stuff. And then I just rip it to kind of bruise it, open up some of the flavors. And then you just sprinkle it on there. This is also optional. You could just use regular basil or thyme or mint or whatever type of herb that you like. Totally fine with me. As always, everything is optional. You can make all sorts of substitutions. I'm not going to hold you to just about anything. So now that we've got all of our vegetables in, we're going to wait to put the pepper in until towards the very end. We're going to heat up, get this thing heated up. And we're just gonna add a little bit of water, maybe like an ounce or two. There's so much moisture in all of these vegetables that is gonna be let off that it's gonna add, you'll see by the end, there's gonna be a ton of liquid in there as like a broth or stock. So we're just gonna do a little pour of water, not a ton. And then I'm also gonna sprinkle in some pink Himalayan salt just to kind of help release that moisture. TB12 approved. Pink salt actually higher in sodium than white salt. Worth noting. Put the lid on. Key, total key to this recipe. You need to have a lid. You want to be steaming these. You want to be steaming the rice cake, steaming the cod when it goes in. Cook with the lid on. And we've got a new pan today. I'm going to swing the handle around. New pan today, donated by my dad. First time we've broken this thing out. And we also have like a skillet circular pan that we're gonna use in the future as well. So we're getting donations all over the place. We got the pan, we got this little tray thing. So send your donations to me at North TV or email Tim at tscanlon.northtv.net and ask how you can donate to the show. So we're gonna let that go for a couple minutes. This is the time when I usually start to prepare the sauce, and then I'll prepare the fish as well. By the time that those are ready to go, these have started to wilt down a little bit. They've given off some of their moisture, and then we'll add that in. So let's get to the sauce. We're gonna go over to the scale. We're gonna move the sweet potato, and we'll just move the scale on top of this. We're gonna measure all this out. This is very, very similar to the sauce that we made in mapo tofu, and this is a sauce that I've mentioned that I use as a marinade. I use it in a noodle dish. I'll coat this on a cod. I'll throw that in the air fryer as a marinade. I've done it with chicken, steak. This stuff is awesome. So we're gonna do 15 grams CJ1 soy sauce. You can use whatever soy sauce you want. I like CJ1. 15 grams, just about a tablespoon. There we go. Then 5 grams of gochugaru. We mentioned this last episode, actually a couple episodes we've used this stuff. Korean red pepper flake, 5 grams. So let's tear that out so we get exactly 5 grams. Good little bit of kick. This bag is almost toast on me. That looks like, that's 5 right there. I do have another bag at home, don't worry, and I can run to the market to grab another one if I need it, which I will eventually need because I use this stuff a ton. Now, we're gonna go in with the ginger, minced ginger. This was the Lee Kum Kee ginger I mentioned last episode. You can get this at like any grocery store in the Asian food aisle, or you could go to an Asian market and pick it up. That's totally fine. But I got this from Stop and Shop right around the corner here from North TV. I've seen it in multiple Stop and Shops. Not that hard to get. We're gonna do 5 grams of that. Whoo! On the first try, 5 on the nose. That makes me happy. Every time that you get something measured out perfectly the first time, it's very exciting, even though it probably shouldn't be. Minced ginger, you know the drill. I use like 20 to 25 grams of this stuff, like a table, like 1 spoon worth. That's 23, 22. We'll just go to 25 because who doesn't love garlic? So great. Okay, next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add 5 grams of our soybean paste. Not a lot, it just adds just a little bit more of that funky fermented flavor. Let's see if this is 5 grams on the nose. Ooh, 4 grams. That's frustrating. Just kidding. All right, there's your 5 grams of that. And then we're gonna tear this one more time. Our gochujang in our little container, even though I have a giant container of this stuff at home. 30 grams or a tablespoon of this stuff. I use grams to measure all this up, but if you just want to use volume measurements, you can, but just be careful, that stuff can be inaccurate. We've mentioned it before. So that's about 30 grams right there. And so as I mentioned, this is like a paste. So all we're gonna do is we're gonna mix this up. I'll show it to you right here. Just kind of mix it up like so. And so if you wanted to use this as a marinade, you could water this down some more with either some stock or a little more soy sauce or water. I've done that before as well, just to kind of water it down so it's a little easier to spread out over the protein that you're marinating. But this is a great marinade. And if you're using it for noodles, which we'll get to, we're definitely gonna do that recipe sooner rather than later on the show. I'll show you how to make this into an awesome noodle clinging sauce, but this stuff is great. So we're just gonna set this down. What we're gonna do next is we're gonna get 7 ounces of cod measured out. This stuff is great. Like 7 ounces will be like 180-ish calories, 160-ish calories. Relatively cheap. Actually, a lot of times I go to Stop and Shop or Market Basket or whatever, it's on sale for like $5-6 a pound. I usually use half a pound or just over half a pound, like 7 ounces is just over. But when you ask them for half a pound, they never nail half a pound. They always kind of overestimate because they have to guess. So we're gonna use 7 ounces. Again, lean protein source, whitefish. This has such a great oceany, briny taste to it. So we're gonna tear off our scale again, and we're going to switch it over to ounces. We're gonna move some of these. I'm always running out of space. That happens to me at home too, but all right, let's cut this cod. We're just gonna guess. 5 seconds, how many ounces do you guys at home think this is? That's gonna be like 4.5. Ooh, 6.5, I wasn't that far off. So we need like half an ounce more, so we'll just do like a thin, and this is probably actually gonna end up taking it well over, so we'll even cut that in half. 6.7, 7.1. That's fine. I'm not gonna be too pedantic. Sometimes at home, I'll worry about landing right on the dot, but you don't have to worry about it too much. But we're getting a ton of protein here. I think this is gonna end up being about 35 grams of protein from the cod. So what we're gonna do is I like to cut it into, again, little bite-sized pieces. So it goes a little longer once it's cooked, like there's a little piece of cod, you've got a little piece of potato in there, and you just get more bites full of all the flavorful pieces of ingredients rather than a couple big chunks of cod, a couple big chunks of potato, and then you're eating the rest of the veggies. And the veggies are delicious, don't get me wrong, but so just cut this up into these bite-sized pieces. Believe me, you'll enjoy it later on in the meal. All right, cod is cut up. We're just gonna move this to the side of the cutting board. The last thing we're gonna do is just weigh out our little bit of rice cakes. We'll use this container to do that. And we're gonna use somewhere between 75 and 80 grams, just depending on how much these individually weigh. These are, I will say, calorie dense because this is like white rice really packed tightly together. So 70 grams of this is probably like 170 calories. So you really need to weigh these out. Be careful with these because the calories can stack up pretty quickly. And I'll show you, maybe 5 or 6 of these will end up being 70 grams. That's 4 right there as 41, 50, 60. Yeah, that's like 73 right there. That's like perfect. And that's like, I think that's seven rice cakes right there. And these will expand once they go into this. Now let's open this up. You hear that? That simmering, that sizzling. These are starting to wilt down. That smell, that's one of my favorite smells in the world. When you open up the lid off this thing and the veggies are breaking down, whew, so good. So let's throw our rice cakes in on our little bed. And what I used to do in this recipe, and what you can totally do, is this bed acts as a barrier, obviously from the bottom of the pan. You could throw some frozen dumplings in here. Those will steam out. That's another way to get some protein. I haven't done that in a little while, but I've done it in the past, like I said. So we'll throw in our rice cakes like that. You don't have to do it in a star pattern if you don't want to. You can just throw them in. Then we are going to put in our cut up pieces of cod. And again, just kind of layer it on top. It doesn't have to be pretty. Good, good. And then we're gonna take our paste, our sauce, and we're just gonna pour that right over top. Get as much of this out of the container as you can, because this stuff packed with flavor. And even to make sure we get more and to just add a little more moisture to the pan, we're just gonna pour a little water in there, kind of spin this around, and kind of go in over top like that. And now, this lid is gonna be hot, depending on what kind of lid you're using, so be careful. Lid's gonna go on. We're here on max heat. If you're on a gas range, you want to be on medium heat at this point. 5 minutes. Keep the lid on the whole time. Don't touch it. Don't do anything. Maybe do some dishes, clean up, put the kids to bed. Well, they need to eat dinner too, so maybe they've eaten before, but do whatever you want. You got 5 minutes. Don't do anything. We'll be back in 5 minutes. We'll pop the lid off and we'll move on to the next step.
Well, why don't we take a 5-minute break?
Very good, sir.
Smoke if you got 'em.
All right, 5 minutes of our first cook is done here on the stovetop. Let's pull the lid off and you can see some of that water coming up around the side that I told you would start to naturally kind of come out of the vegetables in there. You can see our rice cakes have puffed up a little bit. How simple is this recipe? During the break, Tim asked me, well, what else do we have to do? Almost nothing. You just have to mix this one more time and let it cook for 5 more minutes, and then you can eat it. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do another folding motion.
It says fold it in.
Because I don't wanna break up all this flaky cod into like real little pieces that get lost. So just carefully start to fold all of this together.
You fold it in.
And kind of push it around and just incorporate that sauce into the vegetables and onto the rice cakes and onto the cod. And again, I didn't season the cod with anything. I think this sauce adds more than enough flavor and the broth that's naturally in here. So just kind of toss this around and get that nice. And this is where I mentioned I use those green vegetables because the sauce was going to be orangey red and the green vegetables stand out. So if you're going to use like a bell pepper, get a green bell pepper rather than a red bell pepper. But if that's all you can find, it doesn't make that big of a difference. And I ended up breaking up the cod more than I wanted to anyways, but no big deal. It's all going down the same hole and it's going to taste great. So let's just level this out. Look at how much liquid is in here compared to when we started. We only added maybe 2-3 ounces of water into here, not even that much. The rest of this is all from the vegetables in here. Throw the lid back on, put 5 more minutes on your timer, and then it's gonna be time to eat.
Take 5, want more than 4, take 5.
All right, 5 minutes of our second cook all done. We're gonna pull the lid off there. The smell's so good. Again, when they invent smell-o-vision, this show is gonna be even better. So we're gonna turn the heat down just a little bit. And what we're gonna do as our last step is we're just gonna throw some of this jalapeno pepper in. We're not gonna do a ton of it. You don't have to do a ton if you don't want to. And what I'm gonna do is slice this up like so, just a couple pieces. I like to use like a whole pepper, but depending on how I'm feeling. And then just kind of poke the seeds out. If you don't want the heat, most of the heat is from the seeds and from the ribs in there. So if you just kind of, you could use your hands, but then once you do that, make sure you wash your hands before you like touch your eyes or anything like that, because the capsaicin will not make your eyes feel comfortable. You ever been tear gassed before? That's pretty much what you would be doing to yourself. There's gonna be like 2 people watching. Yeah, I have been tear gassed before. I have not, by the way. So there you go. Most of the seeds are out there. Wash your hands after you do that. Mix this up one last time. See that broth, the watery sauce-based broth? That stuff is very good. Mix it up like so. Look at the volume of food. I know I say that almost every episode, but this whole pan is just under 600 calories. This whole pan. Now, again, that doesn't count the calories from the vegetables, which there are calories in there. Maybe when it cooks down, it could be an extra 75, 80 calories. For me personally, calories from vegetables, they're not gonna kill you. And if you're putting on weight and you're trying to lose weight, there's other things that you could cut out of your diet before you start to cut down the amount of vegetables that you're taking in. They're low calorie dense foods. You have to eat a lot of vegetables to take in a ton of calories. So I don't worry about it. If you want to, go right ahead. Again, they do have calories, but I'm not gonna worry about them. I haven't worried about them and it hasn't cost me yet. Famous last words, just kidding. All right, let's plate this bad boy up. Let's turn this off. Just kind of move this up front. I haven't found a good camera angle to plate the food up that makes any sense to me. Now this part can be tough because you want to get everything in the pan. So just take your time. You do not want to lose any of that broth. That broth is worth its weight in gold. It's not worth its weight in gold. It would be nice if it was. I wouldn't be at North TV. Get this in here. Does this look the prettiest visually? Probably not, but you've got some color in there. You've got a good mix of color. You've got the cod in there. You could eat this straight out of the pan if you wanted to, but this is spicy cod. We'll go down here, like right there. Hopefully that's in focus. I say that every episode. It's usually not. There. There. Spicy cod, veggies, sweet potato, and Korean rice cakes. Spicy, a little bit sweet. You've got the briny ocean fish flavor from the cod. This bowl is so good. I'm not gonna wait any longer. I gotta dig into this thing. Hopefully you guys make this. Tag us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, however you can get a hold of us. Email tscanlon@northtv.net. If you make it with your pictures and videos, please make this, send it to us. This is so good. Thanks for watching another episode of Delicious and Nutritious.